Super Bowl 52, your exclusive betting preview from Joe Duffy of OffshoreInsiders.com. Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots, Super Bowl 52, brought to you by Joe Duffy's Picks. Look, been doing this a long time professionally since 1988, and privately a few years before that, one of the great football seasons ever. 209 and 139 historic football season run. Super Bowl wise guys side, major play on the total, and it's all at OffshoreInsiders.com, the industry standard. We also have some prop plays, and quite frankly, I'm going to give you all the prop plays I have for now, but we'll probably add a couple more before game time, but I'm going to give you free prop plays, but do keep in mind, we always keep those prop records separately for, various reasons. Probably shouldn't really need to explain them. I think you can figure them out. But anyway, OffshoreInsiders.com. Now the official betting preview. New England is a 4-point favorite. Actually, 4.5 is a bit more common right now. Total 48.5. This is a team with the two best spread records at 12 and 6. So, no shock. You get this deep in the playoffs, you're going to win a lot of games, and usually the Super Bowl has teams with among the best spread records, but this is the two absolute best spread records. Now, the Eagles have the best against the spread margin, also known as a sweat barometer, at 7.7. The Pats are only ninth, though, at plus 1.6, so it means essentially when the Patriots were failing to cover, they were failing to cover by pretty large margins. When they were covering pretty closely. So these teams do have the same ATS record, but completely different margins. And again, same as points per game margin, just relative to the point spread. Now, New England does allow teams to get 0.5 yards per rush above their normal average. This is one of those we report, you decide type things. We've stated before, we do not consider it to be neutral games, road games for both teams, as some people like to handicap them. A lot of you do. If you really consider neutral games to be handicapped the same way you would a team's road splits, Philadelphia gets 4.6 yards per rush and 5.9 yards per play on the road, which is better than their average is at home. Patriots also better on the road, 7.9 yards per pass and 6.5 yards per play. So again, if you're big into those home road splits and thinking that road splits do apply more in neutral games, then maybe the over is the right play for you. The Eagles do hold teams overall to 0.6 yards per pass below their normal average. Now look for Philadelphia, no secret here. They're going to run behind the right side line behind Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, Lance Johnson with Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount. Nice 1-2 punch They got very physical. And, LeGarrette, he's a guy, because he is such a physical guy, I think he'll benefit as much from the 2 weeks off as just about any player. The Eagles' best wide receiving core that the Patriots have faced in the playoffs so far, been kind of a weird playoffs with, some injuries, of course, in the NFC. You obviously have Aaron Rodgers has been out. The AFC look is Ben Roethlisberger. Is he actually kind of in the twilight of his career? So, really, not the explosive offenses that you usually see in the playoffs, in part because some of the most explosive offenses were injured, or in the case of, the Dallas Cowboys, where they had their star running back suspended for 6 games, etc. Anyway, easily the best wide receiving core that Patriots have seen in the playoffs. Alshon Jeffrey does match up well against Malcolm Butler. Look for Philadelphia to try to exploit that. Zach Ertz, a nice safety valve, as we said. New England struggled against the run, but Philadelphia matches up pretty well, passing the ball deep and short with Zach Ertz. He matches up well against everyone, really. A lot of people think there'd be an even bigger mismatch for Nelson Aguilar against Eric Rowe. Keep that in mind, because Aguilar is one of our props. Philadelphia, though, just 15th in sacks. And I kind of joke, every year, you already know what the pregame shows are going to say, and inevitably, whether you're watching on the NFL Network, ESPN, CBS, wherever you're watching, what's the over-under on how many times you're going to hear, the key is the Eagles, they got to pressure Tom Brady. If they do not pressure him, he will pick you apart. But Philadelphia might surprise some people. Their pass rush, at least as far as sacks, hasn't been as good as maybe some people think. Wide receiver Danny Amendola, tough matchup against Patrick Robinson. Gronk, though, against Malcolm Jenkins, big mismatch. So going to look at, we don't have any Gronk props yet, but probably him over the total as far as receptions and yards. Look for them to really go to Gronk. Big, big, big mismatch. Now, literally every source we use, and we got a few, they've got a consensus on the Eagles. It's unanimous. Every source we use says that the public is betting Philadelphia. Again, we use the number of tickets, not the amount of money, because when you're talking about a consensus and you use it for contrarian, you really want to, say that the square money, a guy who's betting $20 counts every bit as much as a guy who's betting $500 or whatever. So the number of bets, anywhere from 52% to 62% on Philadelphia. And, if you're watching this preview for the first time, you're not a regular, well, first of all, you need to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube right now. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you're listening to the simulcast on Stitcher or iTunes. Make sure you subscribe there. Subscribe to us on Twitter at Offshore Insider. But we have quite a few sources offshore, Las Vegas, and nobody has more outlaw sources. I definitely have some bookmakers, some big-time bookmakers throughout the country where I have either direct or indirect access as far as where the consensus plays are going. They all say the underdog Philadelphia. Now, again, the public generally likes favorites, but as I tell you all along, the exception in every single sport is the postseason. All of a sudden, once the postseason comes around, the public doesn't mind betting underdogs. And the deeper you go into the postseason, the more likely they are to bet on the underdog. So during the regular season, we normally put the consensus on a curve. So, if the public is betting 55% on an underdog, that's much, much, much more than the public's betting 55% on a favorite. It's almost, at this point, it's almost straight as far as you don't really grade it on a curve. What the consensus says is what the consensus is. Also, all those same sources agree the public play is on the over at a little bit higher rate, as low as 57% up to 68%. So most of the bets and as well as most of the money are on the over. Now, these are actual premium picks for me so far. Philadelphia to score first at plus 115. Another one of those things that you're going to hear on the pregame shows. They're going to say, I really think it's important for Philadelphia to score first. Well, I agree with that, and I think that Doug Peterson wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win if they win the toss, if they actually elect to receive. Bill Belichick will certainly elect to kick off. He'll elect to receive in the second half. Although, I just said certainly, but now I'm sort of contradicting myself. Belichick kind of knows how important it is for Philadelphia to score first, so maybe he'll pull away a little bit of a surprise. But I still think, all in all, Philadelphia, pretty good chance that they're going to receive at first, regardless of whether they win or lose the toss. I think Philadelphia will really be hell-bent on scoring first. So at plus 115, that's a pretty good bet. Shortest touchdown, under 1.5. I do think Philadelphia, with a nice running game, if they get the ball deep into the red zone, that they'll probably run the ball, and they could get down there, inside the 2-yard line for sure, not to mention pass interference. So, under 1.5 is a good bet. Player to score the first touchdown, I think Ajayi, as the Patriots giving up a lot of yardage, and he's really become their workhorse running back, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Philadelphia try to take advantage of that if they get deep. MVP Nelson Aguilar, look, there's kind of that catch-22. Wide receivers very rarely win the MVP in the Super Bowl, in part because for a receiver to have a great game, and the quarterback's going to have a great game. And even here, look, you can see how Nick Foles would kind of be the sentimental choice, but the Aguilar, as we said, we talked earlier, we think he matches up very well. Plus, Aguilar hasn't completely, clicked with Foles, but I think with the 2 weeks, Philadelphia is really has worked big time. They get Aguilar involved into their offense. And at plus 4,000, and again, when you're betting money lines, when you're, it's like betting a horse race. You're not necessarily picking who you think would win. I mean, if I'm at a Super Bowl party and you're picking names out of a hat, yeah, of course I want to draw Tom Brady's name. But it's about picking good long shots, and when you, place hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of bets, you go with the high percentage play, And it's going to pay off more times than not. Like Von Miller a couple years ago was one of our great calls where we had him as the MVP at, I can't even remember what it paid, like 25 to 1, something like that. But I think Aguilar is a great long shot here. And to have him score, obviously, for him to get the MVP, he's going to score a touchdown. He's plus 160 to score a touchdown for reasons that we stated. We like that. Brandon Cooks to score a touchdown. Yeah, I can see New England definitely, at times going for the jugular and trying to really take the win out of Philadelphia's sail. Cooks is a great deep threat. And, I do think that at times, look, obviously New England, they're not going to beat Philadelphia by nickel and diming them. Belichick's going to have to go deep. So, yeah, Brandon Cooks to score a touchdown at plus 140. Remember, these picks are sponsored by mybookie.ag. Again, if you like this free information and you want us to do it more often, please literally like this video. Or if you're watching on Periscope, give us the heart. And if you are listening on a podcast, give us a positive review. Wherever you are listening, you get the point. Retweet it, embed it on in your website. We do understand if you're going to embed it, you might want to, put your own ads around it in text or whatever. We get that, but feel free to do any of that. And most importantly, it's a win-win for both of us. MyBookie.ag. If you use the promo code Duffy, that flat out is a powerful way to say keep doing this. But most importantly for you, you're going to be going with a bookie that is going to pay you on time. I'm never going to recommend a book that's going to hurt my reputation. I'm not going to put my pride. Look, I've spent many decades building up a great reputation. I'm not going to have some sports book screw you over. I use my bookie. A lot of my clients, and I definitely have some clients that bet big time, they've been using my bookie for several years. Even in the past couple weeks, sent a few people, and they're like, yeah, you're right. My bookie, it's so easy to set up an account, and it's so easy to collect. Never a problem collecting. And they have a massive sign-up bonus. Whatever the maximum bonus is allowed, promo code Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y, mybookie.ag, and visit us at offshoreinsiders.com.